let's get ready together. I'm so cold. I had such a nightmare, not a nightmare of a week last week. I'm being dramatic by saying that, but I was so sick. I woke up on Monday with like a bit of a scratch in your throat. Obviously being like, oh, I'm getting sick, but I got like progressively sicker over the week, which like resulted in me, basically peaked on Friday. On Friday I was in a heap, an absolute heap, and I was on my own because Evan was shooting in Kilkenny all weekend and he stayed down there. Oh my God, I'm only just feeling slightly normal today, even yesterday, which was Tuesday. So that's like over a week of being sick. I still felt like crap. Today's my first day. I still have a bit of a sore throat, but it's nothing major. And I don't have any of the physical symptoms, as in like, I don't have, like I felt like really lethargic and really bad brain fog to the point where I'm like, did I have COVID? Maybe. I didn't test for it because like, what's the point? I wasn't leaving my house anyway. I literally didn't leave my house all week. But yeah, that is where I've been. I actually wanted to record a video last week, but sure, I was fucking in a bits, guys. I was in a heap. So I'm gonna get ready today because I have a little bit of work to do, and then I'm going to a premiere later on for a movie. I actually don't know if it's I need to check if it's a screening or a premiere because they tend to be different vibes. Screenings tend to be a little bit more chill. Premieres, there's usually like a red carpet. But you can always skip that if you don't want to be taking photos. But I will want to be wearing a bit of makeup for it, you know what I mean? And I actually did a look, not a look, but I did something with my makeup the other day that I haven't done in a while. I wore eyeshadow and I really liked how it looked. So I'm going to do that again. Sure, why the hell not? I got sent this really nice palette by Charlotte Tilbury. I've been looking for a palette like this for at least 2 years, like a neutral to cool toned brown. And these are like shimmers. Can you see them up close? They're really nice, the shimmers. Now, I won't be wearing a shimmer, but that's silver. I will wear that at some point. But yeah, because I think for a long time there, everything was so warm toned, and I don't know, I think warm tones probably do, like that's what people would tell me to wear with my eye color. But I just prefer a more neutral. Oh my God, do you know what I want to talk about while I do my makeup, right? This was something I was gonna put on, I was gonna put this on TikTok, and then I was like, do you know what? I just don't want to get involved with the TikTok drama on TikTok, because if you post anything on TikTok, you run the risk of it reaching like audiences that don't know you, and like sometimes it could just be like a really annoying conversation going on in your comment section that you can't help but pay attention to. Like it's very easy to say ignore the comments, but like sometimes people say things, and especially when it's your own opinion. Anyway, Lauren Whelan, an Irish creator, a young girl. She's obviously in her early 20s. I've met her once or twice, she's lovely. She put up a video the other day on TikTok saying like, why is our generation, not mine, hers, Gen Z, so boring? And you know, she was kind of giving out about everyone being like, oh, like my acai bowls, and like, you know, this is my 5 to 9 before my 9 to 5, and you know, no one's going out and getting feral, and like also like, you know, we are at the age where we can still have the balance, where we can still do the fitness stuff and go to the gym and take care of ourselves, but we can still go out at the weekend and go to clubs and go dancing and like get dressed up, and like we're all just wearing like jeans and t-shirts out, and we're all going to a pub instead of the club, etc, etc, etc. I'm like, this got so much traction, guys. I couldn't believe people were outraged. Like I watched the video when it went up and I was like, haha, yeah. And I just scrolled on by and I was like, to be honest, tea, you know? And there was like all these creators, well, you know, young people as well, all of Lauren's age group, being like, dragging her for her opinion, saying that like, no, like we're the generation who takes our health more seriously, and you know, stop shaming people for not wanting to go out. Everyone's going out and everyone's fun looks different. Just because your fun isn't the club doesn't mean that our fun has to be that. And you know, just And like, look, I want to say, I am actually in no way one of these millennials who's like Gen Z or this and that. Like, I actually am not whatsoever, right? I think that the new generation always gets shit no matter what. And you can't be that. Like when I was young, people were saying we're not going to get mortgages because we ate avocado toast, right? I'll get onto that in a minute. But like, just don't be that annoying person of your generation who's like shitting on the generation below you. It's like, how much of a fucking, what's the word? Like, how much of a stereotype are you going to be right now? It's so stupid. This is the new Charlotte Tilbury ones. They've changed the color of them and I'm kind of annoyed about it because, I don't know, it's like so warm toned now. I'm very confused. I mean, I don't hate it, but it's just not as contoury as it used to be. I have the other one, the older one, which is like much more of a contour shade. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this because I feel like I was of the generation where we fully went feral, okay? And me and my friends anyway, I'm sure a lot of people who are my age who watch my videos would agree. Like, I think not having social media in, like, as in, we had social media, but it wasn't like live, like you weren't like recording stories, you know? So you might be taking photos and uploading them on Facebook the next day, but it just didn't have the same impact as like an Instagram story would now or whatever else. We just went very feral, okay? And when I was younger, I was out all the time. Like, I mean, I remember just being at home one Monday and being like, I can't believe I'm not out. And like, you'd be texting people being like, what's going on tonight? And like, there was like a Tuesday night there was a Tuesday night we went to, there was a Wednesday night we went to, there was a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday. Sundays, Mondays were up in the air, but you would probably find something to do. Actually, Sundays was always Pygmalion because they would do half price drinks. And you'd always find something to do, right? And what I noticed with a lot of the backlash that she was getting from other Gen Z people, they kept bringing up this idea, and I was talking to my friend Ashley about this, like they kept bringing up this whole thing of like, it's the cost, like the cost of living, like it's so expensive and we can't do anything and how are we supposed to afford to go out drinking now with how expensive everything is and blah, 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 okay? I'm not denying that things are expensive now. Of course things are expensive now, right? Bitch, do you not realize when I was a fucking 22-year-old, or 20-year-old, should I say, we were in the depths of like the greatest recession to ever hit the world. Never mind just Ireland. And Ireland was one of the worst places for this recession to hit. We were in the drain, in the gutters, okay? There was no jobs to be had when I was in college. And whatever job you did get, you just took it. Like I worked mostly in retail, but like, oh my God, like I remember there was years where I was like, I will work anywhere. You know, I did not care. Londis, Spar, it was just to get a bit of money in my pocket so I could have a social life. Like that was my priority. My priority was socializing and going out. And yeah, look, did I get too drunk? Yes. Did I probably have a pretty, like, now that I look at it, like, not toxic relationship with alcohol, but like an unhealthy one? Yeah, definitely, okay? And I'll get onto that in a minute as well. But that was my priority. And also, when we were going out back then, it was very different. The priority was to go out first off. So everything else would take a back seat. My clothes, my makeup, as in like, you know, my makeup was like 4 products that I had in my makeup bag, okay? Or whatever I could get my hands on. My clothes were all secondhand. I always did, like, that's how I got into vintage shopping because I didn't have the money to be non-vintage shopping. You know what I mean? Like I remember my friend Leanne once went into overdraft for a top in Topshop and we were like, what are you going to do? And she was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like it was a big deal to buy something not secondhand and from like a high street shop, you know what I mean? And that was because we wanted to put all our money into like going out and socializing, and it was really, really, really a priority. And I think that Gen Z have this idea that we were all living in like the Celtic Tiger era where we had so much money, and just because it was like, you know, cheap drinks and dices, didn't go to those clubs by the way, but just because it was like say 50% off in Pygmalion, we were like, I don't know, fucking millionaires. Babe, it was 50% off because no one had any money. No one had money. It was so bad. Like if you were of age during that time, during the recession, you remember how bad it was. And meanwhile, I see all these girls on TikTok complaining about having no money Their makeup bag is stacked with Charlotte Tilbury, stacked with Sol de Janeiro. They have Le Labo perfumes. And also, their idea of going out is going to a fucking restaurant with their friends for cocktails and dinner. I don't think I went out for dinner with my friends, and this sounds so like back in my day, but it's true. I did not go out for dinner with my friends, I'm gonna say, until I was like in my late 20s, because guess what? That was not a priority I had. I did not want to be in a restaurant with my friends. My friends and I wanted to be out in the club, dancing on tables, being wild, like genuinely. Like if someone said to me like, oh, we're going for dinner, I'd be like, what a waste of money. Why can't we just go to the club? Do you know what I mean? And again, I'm not glorifying. I actually do think it is good that Gen Z have, what's the word? Like there has been a destigmatization in their generation of like not drinking or drinking less. I think that is a good thing overall, because obviously Ireland has a terrible relationship when it comes to alcohol. Like really bad, and like a very bad approach to someone not drinking or whatever else, you know. But it's also up to them to bring that attitude into a night out. I do think, like, if, you know, and then for them saying like, oh, well, like, we just don't want to be hungover, then go out and don't drink. Like, you're so lucky that you were, like, it was not that it wasn't an option, but it just was not even a consideration when I was younger to go out and not drink. Like, it would be like, what's the point, you know? And obviously that's not a good, I don't think that's good. Like, I think it's actually quite liberating when you can go out and not drink. Like when I've done that, I've been like, oh my God, I don't need to be drunk, you know? And that's crazy that I probably only realized that at 30, you know what I mean? It's good to realize that at an earlier age. However, like for you guys, not you, but like, you know, for that generation to go on and on about the cost of mother effing living and that's why they're not going out, in the same breath that they all have tech jobs and, you know, yes, they're working from home and they're living at home. Babe, I didn't move out until I was like fucking, I moved abroad for a bit, but in Ireland, I did not move out until I was 30. And that was with my now husband because he had an apartment that I could afford and he had an older lease. Like, I still wouldn't have been able to afford it. Like, I could have, but like, you know, it would have been at a push, to be honest, on the place that I would have been living and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. My point is that I just find it gas, the kind of approach that generation has to what going out is. And it's, to me, it's just the priority isn't there anymore. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why they don't want to be going out. And like, you know, I think it's like their standards have been raised so much. And also I think a lot of it is due to influencer culture and like what influencers their age are doing, because they have this expectation now of a night out being like aesthetic, which is so funny to me because like my nights out were anything but. And then there's also this weird element to the younger generation too, where they're trying to bring back all this stuff like they're trying to bring back indie sleaze, meanwhile having none of the actual roots of that, dare I say, movement, because the whole point of indie sleaze was that you were a mess. And it wasn't a mess, you weren't trying to be a mess for the sake of it, it was just because you didn't care, and that era didn't care how they looked, and it was probably the last time that like a generation weren't trying to aestheticize things and make it look like something it wasn't, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I just found it's so funny seeing the reaction to that. Like, so many of the generation being like, it's because of the cost of living. And I'm like, girl, I had like 50 quid a week. And you best believe 45 of that was going on socializing. Like, you guys are going out to like expensive wine bars and like spending crazy money. Like, it was called pre-drinks, babe. We drank before the club. In the club, I might have bought one drink and nursed it the entire bloody night. And I'm not joking when I say that. Nursed it the entire night. And I would leave the club sober because I've been dancing so much. So while we did have somewhat of a negative relationship with alcohol, it also, once we were in the club, wasn't the priority. Whereas I don't know, I just find that so interesting. And it's like, I'm also not like talking shit, I don't think really on them, because I get it, like when you're that young, you know, it always seems, you always have a bit of a rose tinted vision of like the generation previously and all that kind of stuff. But I really wonder what they thought the early, say even 2010s were like. Like, I'm like, guys, no one had money. You do realize that. No one could even get, you were lucky if you could get a job. Like, that's the thing. But and a lot of them have jobs and they're making making way more money. Yes, things are more expensive, but like to say you can't afford to go out is ridiculous, because it's just that your standards are at the level where you are expecting to go out and be able to buy cocktails all night. Girl, no one is doing that. Like, no generation before you have ever done that before. And that's why, like, the generation is kind of seen as boring, because it's like they've kind of lost a bit of that creativity, I feel, of like, okay, how are we going to get in? Like, we're going to sneak the drink in, or we're going to do this or do that, or we're going to have pre-drinks. It's like somehow like they have to be, I sound so old being like they, but like somehow the generation have to be like shown it online or something, or they're like afraid to do something that doesn't look like they have loads of money, because I think influencer culture and like social media culture has like taught them to just flex, and it's like everything has to look really great. And like, I could not have given a shit about a designer piece of makeup. Like, I remember I bought the YSL Touche Éclat and like I was like, oh my god. And I also bought like a MAC eyeshadow and it was like, oh my god, I felt like I was investing in the stock market all of my money. My camera died there, so I don't really know what I was saying, but I'm pretty sure I was saying that we had no money, okay? Like, and it's just so funny because, and it's not even like a judgment, like I actually don't think there's an issue with it, but like the priority, I do see a direct correlation between like how much young people are willing to go out and their interest in nightlife versus their interest in like showing a certain appearance of a social life. Does that make sense? Like, we went out because going out was such, for me anyway, going out was it really helped like my social anxiety, I think, because and definitely aided by alcohol, let's be real. But I do think that there was a good lesson in it for me, because I'm like, I was able to like meet all these people, and like it widened the net of my social circle to a great degree, which I really enjoyed. Now, obviously a lot of them are like club friends, but like that's what your fucking 20s are for, you know? But I made some of my best friends in the club, okay? And I mean people who were at my wedding. I even think I could draw a straight line between the club nights that I went out to and my husband. So like, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't have met my husband if, his name is Evan. Why am I saying my husband? I don't know if I wouldn't have met Evan if I hadn't gone out, but like, I kind of think like they're like, for example, right? Here's a story. This is just the 6 degrees of separation. My first ever, like I've spoken about before, but I loved this club night called War, okay? And the first night that my friend Leanne and I went there, it was our first night ever going out together. Like, we literally just made friends in college, and we were like, we should go out together because we lived really close together. I also, by the way, I did put on a little bit of eyeliner. Let's see if I can punch you guys in. This is very old school beauty YouTube. But this is the eye. I used this color and this color, and then a little bit of wing on this. This looks black, but it's actually kind of like a purpley based, really dark gray, which I love. And then I used my favorite eyeliner, which is, where is she? This Maybelline Tattoo one. This is in charcoal. It's not even in the black one. But it's pretty much black. And all I do is I do a wing, I buff that out, and then I just do there. Okay. Just so we're all up to date. If you want any details on any of the products I'm using, obviously just let me know in the comments, because if I start talking about them, I won't get through my point. So Leanne and I, one night, were like, okay, let's go out. So we went out and we had no plan. We literally drank, I think, like 2 cans of cider in her bedroom. And then we went and hit the town, and we just walked down South William Street, and we were approached by 2 men. Sounds bad, but it wasn't. And they were like, where are you guys going tonight? And we were like, we don't know. And they said, do you want to come to this night called War? And I said, absolutely. And because they said, you can get in for free. And I was like, okay. So we went in, they used to paint 2 stripes on your face, like war paint stripes. And we went into the club night, and I'm not joking, I'd say there was maybe 15 people there. But of those 15 people, 5 of them became really close friends of mine. Probably 5 to 10, and now still in my life, and still people who I would like hold a lot of fondness to. There's definitely about 5 people there. Like that was the first night I met James Kavanagh at that night, and he was literally sat a few seats down from me at my wedding day, you know what I mean? And even like the amount of people we met at that club night was just so fun, and it really just made my life better, because I met loads of people in college who like maybe weren't in my course. You know, we all met at that club night and we would all go out together, and you know, that was when my life at college got better, because I was like, no, I loved all the people in my course, but I had quite a small course, so it just meant I met more people, and it like broadened the net of people I met. And like, that was what going out for me was. It wasn't just about going, you know, having, you know, getting locked or whatever. Of course there was that. And I probably was in some situations where like, you know, weren't the safest. But overall, like with clarity now in my 30s, by the way, I bought the Laura Mercier powder after all my moaning on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I was like, what one other than the Laura Mercier? And then I just went and fucking bought the Laura Mercier one, because I did my favorite makeup creator, Nikita. Do you guys know her? She's like a gorgeous woman from New York, and she makes amazing, like she's a really great makeup artist. She was like, you need talc in your powder, and I was like, I do. And this one still puts talc in it, because a lot of them are going talc free, which she claims is terrible. So I like to just put it here. I've noticed in my older years I do get a bit of shine here, especially because I wear such like glowy products. So anyway, that's my thoughts, really. Like, there's so much of what going out is and why it's important for young people, other than just like being out and getting drunk. Like, again, myself and my friend Ashley were talking about it, like even like hangover days. Like, you, as much as you might not want to admit it, and I actually did a podcast with Keelan, I don't know if you guys have heard that. Her podcast is called Growing Up, and we spoke about like coming into your 30s. And one of the things that I said I missed, which is something I miss, is like the concept of hanging out. Like, I'm sure there'll be someone saying like, me and my friends still hang out. Well, good for you. Me and my friends don't. Like, and that's just what it has been, and it's gradually got like that. Like, of course, put it this way. Do I see my friends lots? Yes. But is it more in a very organized manner of like, okay, we're going to go for dinner, or like we see each other as couples, or we might go on a break together. You know, it's very organized. We don't like, I don't like have my friend over to my house and we don't like sit around and talk shit and watch a movie all night. Just doesn't happen. That did happen a lot in my 20s. And I think it's obviously, I think it's normal. It's like a mix between like your friends having kids and getting married, living with their partners. Like, it just is what it is. And being able to hang out and rot in bed all day with your friends hungover is so something of my 20s that like, it's not so much that I miss it as in I crave it. It's just like when I think back on it, I'm like, I did not know how fun that was when I was doing it. You know what I mean? And the going out and the like having those moments and spending those nights together, and like, because going out ends with you like sleeping in your friend's house, or you know, there's just so many things, or them staying over in your house, and you get to know people on like a deeper and more on a different level, rather than just like seeing them in college and going for coffee. There's something so sterile. And even when it comes to money, I'm just going to rant more about this because I just do feel passionately about it. Like, I see a lot of the same people again who were complaining about this, and even like Lauren spoke about like them going for like Pilates and all. I'm like, as if myself in 2011, when I was 21 years old, was going to a fucking €20 a class Pilates session. Like, you guys have money to burn. And again, if that's what you want to spend your money on, that is so fine. That's so fucking fine. I just find it interesting to observe as someone who is like 15 years older than a 20-year-old now, being like, wow, this is what you guys want to spend your money on now? You want to go out to dinner and you want to go to a Pilates class. In my mind, that's something you save for when you're 35, my age, or 30 plus, because trust me, there is so much availability to go to Pilates classes with your friends when you're in your 30s, to go for dinner with your friends, to have these small pockets of time to spend with your friends in these like very much more controlled environments. But what makes your 20s fun, and what makes you learn a lot about yourself, and what makes you learn a lot about your friends and what kind of person you want to be, and letting loose, is that kind of feral nature of the night. And it's exploring yourself in an environment that isn't so constrained and isn't so sterile. Like, you can't go feral at a Pilates class. And dare I say, you can't go feral on a night at a dinner. And again, I don't mean feral as in you have to be, you know, boofing things up your booty hole. Do it if you want to. I definitely, well, I didn't do that, but you know, close enough. But what I do mean is that, like, there is a certain level of grace you are given at that era of your life, and you don't get that grace again. And I'm not one to really be like, you have to do things by a certain age, but like, if someone is in like maybe their later 30s and they are maybe doing those things, sometimes it's because they're not in the best place, like the best frame of mind. And I don't mean that you have to settle down. I really don't believe in that. I don't believe you have, like, I know I'm married, but I don't think you have to do these things. I think Irish people do have these like preconceived notions of like, you have to get married and you have to buy a house. You don't really have to. Like, it's stupid that people feel that they have to. But like, you know, I think if you've lived your 20s well, and by that I mean, like, you know, if you were given the availability, like you didn't have like maybe a child really young, I understand those things can give people a second lease of life when they're in their 30s, and as they should. But like, if you lived a generic life in your 20s, you know, you left school, you either got a job, you went to college, your early 20s are times for you to really let loose. And I think the reason why I spoke about it in Keelan's podcast, but the reason why I really feel I have no regrets over how I lived my 20s is because I went for it. Like, I moved away, I did all the things, I fucking went out constantly, and then, you know, I stopped. I probably only did that for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, you know, but I still went out a lot in my 20s. You know, I went to New York, I was going out all the time there. And again, it helped me not only find out a lot about myself, but find out a lot about like my friends. I made good friends from it. And I really like thinking about it. Like, I just don't really know any of my friends who are really, really good friends of mine. Like, who would those people be that I didn't meet in some sort of context like that? I don't really know, you know? So it is, maybe if you're younger, like, let me know, fill me in. Like, maybe I'm being really, really old fashioned. I'll hold my hands up and say it, maybe I am. But I just really feel that like, your early 20s are for letting loose, and whatever letting loose looks like for you, that's fine, you know. And again, like, you know, people say I don't like the club. I wasn't going to like Dicey's or Coppers, nothing wrong with those places, but like, that wasn't what I was into. I was more of a part of, like, dare I say, a bit of an alternative scene in Dublin. Alternative in the sense of like, the music was a little bit like crazier for what was playing back then. Like, they would play like old like 2000s hits. Like, it was so fun, and it was dancing, and people were really feral and really let loose. And as I said, I was leaving the club sober a lot of the time because I was dancing so much. Like, it was like, I smoked at the time, and it was like, you go to the smoking area, you would huff a cigarette. Maybe talk to someone, but you'd be huffing a cigarette, and then you'd hear like ma 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 ma. You'd hear the beginning of Lady Gaga's Poker Face, and you would run to the dance floor. Like, I mean, run. And that goes into another thing. Like, again, I'm speaking very generically here, and again, I'm not trying to put on a club night, so I don't know if there is a lot of red tape involved, but just because there aren't big mega clubs in Dublin doesn't mean that you can't bring nightlife into Dublin. It just has to be brought by your generation if you're younger. Like, the people who were putting on the club nights when I was going out were maybe like 3, 4, maybe 5 years older than I am, right? So they were maybe like 25, 26, and they're putting on club nights, and like, you know, 19, 20, 21, 22, up to 26-year-olds were going. You have to put those nights on. Like, these nights were being put on in places like, as I said, it was Spy, which then became Farrier and Draper. I can't remember, it was called something else, Law Society in between. There were some more cooler venues like Andrews Lane and stuff, and Crawdaddy, but Crawdaddy was like, it was like opium. It was more of a gig venue, and it became kind of a place for a club night. So I just think it is up to that generation to put those nights on as well. Again, maybe people are trying to, and there is red tape. I don't know. Okay, I'm not too sure, but the clubs weren't open late when I was younger. They were closing at 2. Like, it really wasn't that much different. Maybe if you want to make the comparison to the 90s, where there was like a rave scene in Dublin, and people were like, even when Evan used to go out, he's 5 years older than I am, and it was very different then, you know, like places were open till 4, and I started going out when I was about 16, which is like 2006. And even then, like, things were open much later. Like, the, you know, Eamon Doran's, which was again, it was a club night, but it was a pub. Like, that was open till 4 a.m. and there was, the Hub was open till 4, which is more of a club kind of environment, like a small club, but a club. But like, you know, in my 20s, places were closing at 2 a.m. That was just how it was. Nowhere was opening till 4 anymore. And I believe that was just laws that changed. So I don't know. It's just an interesting one to see from the outside. Again, I don't really, like, I mean, I've no skin in the game. Like, I don't really give a fuck whether young people go out or don't go out. But I find it interesting when I see that big kind of kickback that Lauren got. I'm like, guys, first off, you're proving her point that you're boring, because to get so annoyed that like someone was like, why are we the most boring generation? They're like, we like to care about our health and we're this and we're that. It's just like, okay guys, chill out. Like, sorry, I don't know why I went so insane there. So yeah, that was my opinion on that, and thank God I put it on YouTube and not on fucking TikTok, because I don't think I would have been able to say it in less than however amount of time it took me to say it here. Probably an insane amount, and I probably had to delete half of it because of length. But this is the look that I'm liking lately. A bit of a smokier eye. I think it's so nice. I think I just needed the right palette to do it. And I also really enjoy about this palette that they're quite sheer colors. And I like that in an eyeshadow sometimes, but especially in colors like this, because they're really buildable. So you're not like putting on pigment and being like, ooh, you know, because I hate that when that happens. I'm going to put on, you know what, Evan got sent this in a thing from Be Perfect, so I think he's done some photos from them. I've never bought any of their makeup, but they put in this lip treatment and I robbed it from it, and I really like the lip treatment. Now, it's probably just the exact same as all the other lip treatments from Irish brands, because it seems to be the same packaging, but it's so shiny. And I love this like applicator, the silver thing. Okay, that's that. Here's the look, the makeup. And yes, I am wearing old It Gals merch.